Hello and welcome back to the second episode of The Table. I'm so grateful that you're here. You could be anywhere because the world's like, look at me, look at me. I feel like the world's like, like a 3-year-old. I need your attention. Look at me over here, over here. So you're here. So that's fun. Today I want to talk about birth. Let's talk about birth, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about birth. Because birth is amazing. Like, women are hosts of these beautiful beings that are being created inside, and then they pass through and they enter the world, and we just get to live life with them. And then they look like us. They look like their dads because we do all the work, and dads get the credit, and that's fine. But no, I think it's a really cool thing, actually. Because then when they come out looking like the dad, you know you ain't going to be on Jerry Springer. Because you know he is the father. That's fun. That's fun. We're having fun. We're having a good time. Dusty Slay. He is Mark and I really enjoy him. We haven't watched him in a bit, but man, he is funny. If you want a good comedian, Dusty Slay, Nate Bargatze is the bomb. Like, he is the bomb, and he's family friendly. You can just watch him, like, he's G-rated. And he is the funniest comedian. Oh my gosh, I thoroughly enjoy it. But I love that we're having a good time because we're having a good time. But I want to talk about birth today before we open up in prayer. Because births are just amazing. And personally for me, I don't care if you think I'm rude or not, because I'm eating, I'm hungry. And no, I didn't peel the banana backwards like a monkey. I peeled it so I have all the strings, because that's fun. But I had 2 very different births, and my home birth is specifically, I want to talk about my free birth, my medically unassisted birth. And people are like, who, what, where, when, why? So I've talked about this with a lot of people because birth is amazing, but I also did something that was drastically different than the norm of just going to the hospital, right? I just want to talk about it because I think that's really cool to talk about. But first off, I just want to open this up in prayer and just say thank you, God, for this beautiful day, for the Christmas music that's playing, for the tea in my hand, for the baby in the swing that just sneezed. Bless you. Bless you. And Christmas candles and family and friends, but ultimately for who you are, for your grace, for your mercy, for your forgiveness, for your relationship that far exceeds any condition that could ever be put on us. So I'm just grateful for who you are, for how you love us in the shadows, on the journey to the light, everything in between, and for just being present because you unconditionally love your children and your babies. So I just pray that you bless the conversation, and all glory goes to you. In Jesus' name, amen. So, birth. Whew. I'm very excited. The one I just gave birth to is in the swing right over here. So, we just blessed. So she sneezed, and you just got the cutest everything. You're the cutest everything. And just love the girls. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. So my first birth with Naomi, it was almost 8 years ago now. It's insane. Like, insane. She was born via midwives, so I was a part of the midwifery association, and it was incredible. Like, it was a beautiful experience. It was so amazing to have the intimacy, to know who was going to be at my birth, to have a birth plan, to know that I had the freedom to be like, yeah, yo, you can go to the hospital, or you can like run an extension cord by a river over here and we can help you. And it's like, wow, this is amazing. So I've had a lot of people ask me, would you have given birth, free birth, and medically unassisted if it was your first? If Reese was my first, knowing the mindset, the heart posture, who I am now, who I am today, I would have said yes, like absolutely. But back then, I didn't really know anything outside of hospital birth, right? So midwifery was my first step. and experiencing that intimacy. And I believed my first experience with midwifery is what catapulted the whole idea of like, I went from like hospital midwifery to like hiring a doula to I can just do this thing myself. No, ain't no thing, chicken wing. Like, so, again, I fully believe that as a woman, I've been given the authority to not only host, but deliver any way that I feel. So, like, just in the medical system, outside of the medical system, I just believe that, and again, detaching yourself from the norm can be a scary thing, because you have to deal with your fears and your emotions and all the beliefs that you have attached to a specific thing. You have to dismantle that. So you have to go on a process. And not only do you have to dismantle it for yourself, you have to dismantle it for those who are around you, right? And their unbelief or their fears or their anxieties, right? So for my first birth, I gave birth throughout in Vancouver Island, and I didn't even understand that, or even have anyone breathe the concept into me that I could just give birth on my own, right? It's like, no, you need to have someone there, right? Just in case anything goes wrong. And it's like, yes, I do believe in things that could potentially go wrong, but I don't base my life around it, right? Because people are like, with Reese, when I gave birth to her at home, it's like, well, what if? And it's like, yes, I'm looking at what if means I'm going to the hospital that's 10 minutes down the road. Like, that's what if means. But what if it is possible that I can do this with the ability and the strength and the wisdom that's been imparted to me as a woman, and I can actually move through that without anyone tampering with my process. And I believe I actually have the strength. I believe that I actually have the strength and the ability to do it. What if I believed that first, then all the negatives? What if I did, right? And it's like, well, there's so many what ifs. You can't you can't build a business looking at all the what ifs, and base your every move off of fear. Like, you have to send it. Sometimes you just have to send it, and not saying birth by any means is like building a business, because it's not in a sense, but you in order, for me, going off on my own required a different mindset, and I needed to completely reframe that. And it's like a wilderness journey, right? And I am not scared to go out in the wilderness on my own. That's actually where I enjoy being with God most, and I enjoy doing things in a more unorthodox way, and just knowing that I can work through it. But it's not doing anything like overly stupid, although I've done lots of overly stupid things. But I was well researched in this. I believe I was well equipped, and I believe it was also a godly orchestrated thing that I was being pulled into, right? Because what you come into contact with, I believe, is also a manifestation of what's going on inside. We're not victims to what life gives us per se. Now, I do like a complete injustice, like a murder or like a whatever, is a complete injustice, and that is not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is like when a person falls victim to their circumstances because A, B, C, and D is not going right, or it's looked messy, or it's whatever. But I truly believe that the ability that God's given within us, the world is our canvas, and like our hearts are the paintbrush. So we have the ability to, because of what's been given inside of us and within us, and because Christ died for us, we have the ability to actually be co-creators of our story, right? And so I believe that rewiring the subconscious, that's a whole other thing, a whole other video or topic of conversation. But I just totally believe that we have the ability, because of our power of belief and what we choose to do with that, to build a reality. And what we want that to look like is based on our belief systems and the way that we talk to ourselves and the way that we look at things and the way that we like our actions and all that jazz, right? Like it's so intertwined. It's like a web. So basically, I just put all of that and I went on a journey of it through birth, through looking at giving birth at home outside of the norm, right? And so basically, I've tried creating this video a few times, and I don't know where I left off. But if I'm saying this again, then just zoom past it. But so when I was looking at like giving birth here, because I'd given birth out in Vancouver Island, so I didn't know like the regulations here or like the system or the whatever, right? Because I just hadn't done it here. So I went to my doctor. I'm like, yo, I got baby inside me. What's next? And they're like, okay, well, we're going to send you to a clinic or a place. And I was like, okay, cool. I don't know what places, but the only thing that came to my mind was like the St. Joseph's Clinic or the women's clinic. Excuse me. So they sent me there. And honestly, I don't really have anything bad to say about it, but because there were friendly faces, there were like just awesome people there, and I really don't have a whole lot of complaints. But for me, it just, as I went on my journey of it, I just realized it wasn't aligning with what I felt I wanted my birth to look like, right? Because ultimately, my body, my birth. It's not the system's birth. It's not the hospital's birth. My body, my birth. I get to dictate it, regardless of what anyone has to say, right? So, and some people may think that's dumb or that's stupid, but I want full autonomy over the way that my baby comes into the world. And I kind of believe, like, with the amount of stories and birth stories that I've heard from mamas, even mamas that have given birth here, it's almost like traumatic birth stories are normalized. And like, this is what needs to happen. Like, everyone needs to get induced. Everyone, like, when heart rates drop after you've just given what's that called in the back? I want to say like anesthesia. I know the word epidural. So you give epidurals, you give morphine, you give fentanyl. The baby's heart rate's going to drop because you've essentially drugged the baby, right? Because all that passes through the placenta, it passes through the baby, and it's a sedative. So of course, baby's heart rate's going to drop, right? And you're like, I just believe that women need to be allowed to free flow in their birth, like what they feel is most comfortable for them and for their body and for the way that they're being called to labor and give birth. And mind you, there's positions for this, like there's proper positions. I think giving birth on your back is the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard of, because you're completely working against gravity. But of course, when you epidural, you can't walk. So like, that's the only way about it. And I understand that, but like, there's actually hormones in the brain, and like your body as a woman's body is created to like be able to be in sync with their body, because there's something called a fetal ejection reflex hormone that lives in the brain, and that's activated during transition period, right when your baby's about to come out. And that's the transition periods, like, I fucking can't do this anymore. Like, whatever, someone do this for me. I can't, I won't, blah, 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 blah. That's transition. So when that happens, there's actually a hormone in the brain called the fetal ejection reflex. And when you've fully engaged in your inner animal, basically, right? Like you've fully come into surrender, and you've just allowed the process to be the process. You're not running away from it. You're not fearful of it. You're not scared of it. You're not trying to get someone else to do it for you, but you're actually fully embracing every surge, every wave of energy, which is also known as a contraction, but every surge that comes into your body is meant for a purpose. So I actually had mantras written on my wall for Reese of the things I needed to remind myself of, right? Like deep diaphragmatic breathing was a huge one for me, like just remembering to breathe and just remembering that I've been created to do this, that I have the strength and the power within me that was God-given to be able to endure this. I can co-labor in Christ, with Christ, and in like like join him in his suffering. And that's basically was my motto for birth. And actually afterwards is when I really realized it. It's like, man, I bless you, mom's gross. I believed that I joined and I partnered in his suffering when I fully surrendered to the process, right? I fully surrendered to it. I didn't have anyone coming in and dictating what I needed to be doing, the position I needed to be in. It's time for an epidural. We're not sure if the baby's safe, so we got a C-section it out. Like I didn't have any of that. Like I fully surrendered and I fully gave the process over to the higher one. I gave it over to Jesus and I gave it over to God. And I partnered in his suffering with him, because I mean, laboring is not an easy thing. Like it's not at all. And especially when you're detached from all of those safety nets, or feeling like someone can come and rescue you or come and save you or prevent you from experiencing something. Like when you actually dive into it and you experience the whole thing, there's something powerful about that. So even in saying that, I just want to go and just talk a little bit about how I even came to do a home birth. So I signed up with the St. John, the SJ Women's Clinic at the St. Joseph's, and everyone there was amazing, but I had no idea who was going to be there at my birth, and that was really scary for me. I had no idea the nurse that was going to be there. That was really scary for me. The environment of a hospital just doesn't scream safety to me. And I think it's because of my previous experience with being hospitalized and with being, sometimes like I almost felt like an experiment. Like, let's try this drug on her to help to see if we can keep this at bay. Let's try this drug on her. Let's put her over here to see if this can help. Like, and not saying that I was an experiment, but that's how it felt like. So just being in an environment when I'm so vulnerable was actually something that I couldn't even comprehend, right? So when I was going through the process, I actually looked at midwifery. I was too far away. So you need to be within a 60-kilometer radius in order to access the midwifery clinic in Fredericton. And I was like, dang, I'm too far away. The doula that I was originally looking for doesn't practice doula anymore. And a few that I had interviewed just didn't feel like it was a great fit. So I was introduced by this other doula who is amazing, but she doesn't practice being a doula anymore. But she's like, you need to go check out this person. So she directed me to this woman in the St. John area who is a radical birth keeper, but she's promoting free birth and what that looks like. And I was like, dang. So I booked an interview with this gal, and she was phenomenal. And she actually led me to where she got all of her information from. And I was researching this, and everything about this was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I need to be doing. Like I just went on a journey of it, and I was doing all the things that I needed to do in prep, but I was like, I don't want to give birth in a hospital. And everything that I was doing for support just wasn't working out. And then I was led to this place that's like, you can do it yourself. And I was like, done. Like done. Like I've made up my mind at that point in time, right? Because like getting a birthing pool and all that stuff, like for one, I live on a well, so like I couldn't have this ginormous pool in my living room, like to move around in, just because I don't have the water supply for it. So I needed something smaller. So I was like, you know what? I ended up just buying a $65 ice bath tub, blow up ice bath tub, and I stuck it in the corner of my now daughter's nursery. And I was just like, yeah, I'll just give birth in this thing. So two places I want to highlight. So the Freebirth Society is a great resource for anyone who is wanting to go on a journey of experiencing birth outside of the medical system, or outside of midwifery, doula, medical system. You're wanting to go on a journey to actually experience full autonomy over the beauty of birth, and just taking ownership of like, okay, you know what? Yeah, there's a lot of what ifs, but there's a lot of what ifs in everything. And like, what if I actually was able to give birth wherever I wanted on my own and just invite people into the space, not feeling like you're giving your birth over to a system, but you actually have the autonomy to be like, yeah, no, I could do this myself, but I'm inviting people into this space. And there's such a mindset shift when it comes to that perspective and actually believing that you are capable of doing whatever it looks like, including giving birth on your own. And it's like, man, that's freaking powerful. Like, that is powerful. So I actually, I got, I got kicked out of the medical system because I was like, you know what? It was my last month of, there was 2 months left or 2.5 months left in my pregnancy. And I was like, I understand that there's a protocol here, but I've gotten all my testing done. My pregnancy is great. I feel great. I don't want to come in, quite frankly, to the hospital. I don't want to lug my butt in there and try to find some parking and whatever have you, right? Like, I was just like, I'm not interested in this, but if I do have any concerns, like, I will come back, because essentially the medical system's here for us. We're not like, it's not vice versa. Like, the medical system is here for me, and I get to dictate my health, the do's and don'ts. And up until that point, I had gotten all the testing done, even though, quite frankly, I think a lot of the testing is ridiculous, because it's like, if you get like a Down syndrome testing or whatever, and like, I don't even like that testing, because it's like, why is there a specific test for like Down syndrome? Like, they're the most beautiful people on the planet. And like, the fact that there's a test to even like, or like any condition, right? It's like a child, no matter what, is meant to be into this world, and let them, like, even if they die outside of the womb, like, let them go on their journey of when their life is supposed to begin and when their life is supposed to end. Like, I don't believe that life or death is a choice. And it's like, I'm not going to, if my baby has Down syndrome, I'm going to love it even more, because those, like, you ever meet a Down syndrome person? They are the most incredible people on the planet. And I'm like, so I think that's ridiculous. And it's like, I know my blood type. I can check for my glucose testing if I friggin' need it, because I have machines here. I have blood pressure machines here. I can see like what my blood pressure is. And I don't know. For me, I just think it's like, it's a little on the silly side, like with a lot of the testings, but, I went through the scans, but it's like, again, like, your baby is growing and is doing their thing regardless of what's going on inside. Like, we can't help that. And like, we shouldn't be going in and actually prodding with them. Like, this is the destiny of their life, and it is what it is ultimately. So I just think, for me, I wanted just to be left alone, right? But I went through the testing, so don't call CPS on me or anything. So I did all the things, but next time I probably won't be doing as much, that's for sure. Like, if there is a next time of me giving birth, but basically, I was just like, yeah, I don't want to be coming in every 2 weeks or every week to a place that like has a hard time like finding parking, and it's hot. Like, this is not something I want to be doing for just like let's measure your belly, let's listen to your heart, and then like check off the list, and then, okay, we'll see you in a week. And it's like, yeah, for me, I just didn't see that it was overly necessary, and that was just my decision. So basically, I was told, you comply with us with what our protocol is, or if not, we're kicking you out of our program. We're passing your file off to an obstetrician, and you're going to be deemed high risk, which to me meant cesarean section, right? So you take a fully healthy woman and a fully healthy baby inside, and then all of a sudden she's going to be deemed high risk because she doesn't want to follow the protocol, right? And it's not like I was going against like there was any like crazy complications or anything. Like, I was just like, no, I don't need this right now. And I don't this isn't a good fit for me right now, but I will contact you if I need anything. And so that right there, I was like, okay, I'm giving birth at home. That almost solidified it for me. Although I was researching home birth way prior to, and I was introduced to free birth way prior to, right? So I made the decision to just break away from the medical system and to not follow the protocol because I didn't think it was necessary. Again, if I thought my child was in danger or at risk of anything, it would have been completely different. But I was literally like a spotless pregnancy the entire time. So I'm like, I just want to be left alone at this point in time, right? I want to nest. I want to just enjoy the time that I have and not feel pressured to make it to all these things. So that's what I did. And as the time approached, so like probably like the last month, basically what I did was like, I drank a lot of raspberry leaf tea. I drank like multiple cups of that a day. Bridget Taylor is another shout out that I wanted to give. So she's a doula that has a lot of videos online. And I actually started doing like her workout videos and also learning a lot about pelvic positions. And just started doing some stretching and working on my pelvic positions that were easiest for labor and helped baby come down the canal, right? So I pulled like all of my knowledge and my information from Bridget Taylor or Brigitte Taylor. I'm not sure how her name is pronounced, and then Freebirth Society. So those were two that I really, really pulled from, and I'm so grateful for them. But again, I think there's a reason and a season for everything. And this was just what was aligned with me, and that I was brought to these places, and it was because this is what I was meant to do fully. Like I fully believe it. So yeah, I learned pelvic positioning. So basically, I labored on my knees with my hands over the blow up pool with my feet pointed outwards. So like say like this, these are my knees. My feet were not pointed inwards like this. My feet were pointed outwards like that. And that is actually the perfect position to actually open your pelvic up and baby can come down. Like beautiful. I wish I had one of those like models. Like maybe I'll get a model of like a pelvic area. But basically when you're laying on your back, your sacrum curls up within the pelvic region, and it actually like it makes it the smallest. So it doesn't even make sense to give birth on your back. And not only does it not make sense to do it because of the position of your sacrum, but gravity, right? Like gravity is actually what's necessary. And your contractions or your waves or your surges are actually meant to put baby in position. And even if your baby is sunny side up, if your baby is breech, like I fully believe that you can give birth to all of that just naturally, right? My baby was sunny side up, and so it means her head was facing up, but she came out, and it's like, just leave it alone. Like that's my motto. Just leave it alone. Just don't poke or prod at it. And personally, I didn't want to go in the hospital to have people shoving their fingers up inside of me at such a vulnerable time. Like, no, I didn't want it. Because ultimately it doesn't matter if we're looking at, okay, 8 centimeters, 6 centimeters, 10 centimeters. Like I fully believe that, like for one, especially if there's a change in doctor or there's change in physician or change in nurse, the safety that you feel could go out the window, right? Like, because it's a very, like, you're not having people shove fingers up your bum to see if your poop is ready to come out. Like, it's something that you just do. And not, she's smiling. It's like, you're the cutest poo I ever had. But I just fully believe, like, just if you believe that you can do it, if you're in a safe place, if the place that you feel is safe and it has the smell that you like, the twinkle lights, the mantras, the people, and you have this environment that's right for you, your body is going to feel safe and it's going to open up, and everything's going to go actually a lot better than you think, right? But when you're in an environment that you don't know, you hear beeping, you have people telling you what you can and cannot do, you have different people coming in and inserting, like, it's just, for me, I'm like, that doesn't even make sense to me. So I'm like, no, I don't want any of that. So yeah, basically I started drinking raspberry leaf tea to help soften the cervix. I learned about pelvic positioning. And when the time came, I was fully ready. Like I felt fully capable. Like there wasn't a doubt in my mind that I couldn't do this, right? So I basically started laboring for Reese at 9:30, and the contractions or the surges of energy were coming about like 20 minutes apart. And so I was actually watching a Tragically Hip documentary with my sweet thing that was sleeping beside me. And I just watched the documentary, and because sometimes like when you think it's the time, it's not. And there was uh, multiple times like the weeks prior to that I thought something was happening and then it wasn't. But this happened this time, and I actually gave birth to her on the due date that I was given. So that's really fun. But I like this was different because it happened like so late at night and it started getting more intense. So I was like, okay, this is the real deal. So until about 10:30, I stayed just watching the Tragically Hip documentary and just going through the surges, and then they started getting really intense to the point that I couldn't lay down anymore. So I got up and I just vacuumed, I swept, I mopped, I emptied the dishwasher, I did some laundry, like I just kind of did my thing. And then I got Marky Baby up at about 12:30 or about 12 o'clock, and I said, I think it's time, right? So I texted all my people, and my friend Steph, who, like, this is so wild. She actually fell asleep at like 4:30 that day. She didn't her son was with family, and she fell asleep at 4:30 that day, and she woke up at like 12 o'clock when the message was received, and she was like ready because she was my photographer of the event. And so she was ready, right? And it's such an ordained thing. It was very cool. And yeah, so she got there when Mark was filling up the pool, and so she just starts taking pictures, and then eventually I get in the pool around like 12:30, and I'm still chatting, but the chatter slowly dwindled away, and I didn't even move outside of the tub. I was in this position with my hands over the tub, and I made sure to keep them open with every surge that came. I was just focused on my breathing and focused on being open. And then I had my legs in that position where my knees were down, and then my feet were out, kind of like hitting the sides of the pool. And with every surge of energy, I was able to just tell myself, okay, this one's here for a purpose. It has a reason. Once it's finished, its reason is done. And then I can move on to the next one, right? So I had my safe people there. I had my twinkle lights. I had my mantras. I had my worship music going. And it was really magical. So I had Steph in the corner taking some pics, and I had my Mark beside me. My full plan was actually to have a video of this and to have my Naomi girl with me, because we were actually preparing together. Like, she would watch home birth videos with me, and we would talk about things, and she was fully ready to be on board and watch her baby sister be born, which I think is also really cool as well. So yeah, it's like I got in the pool, and the conversation eventually stopped, and because I was just in the thick of it. And basically there was a time when everything, like the surges kept coming, and towards the end of it, they were coming what felt like every minute, almost like continually, right? For, I don't even know, like time was out the window, like just kind of focused on being present with yourself and not losing yourself. But I knew there was a transition period happening when I was just like, I had fear, right? I had fear enter my brain. I had like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Like, I'm home, oh my gosh. But like, little did I know that was transition period, right? And it was actually funny because Steph had experienced some fear, and then she stepped out of the room, because my birth plan was, to the people that were invited, were there's no judgment, there's no opinions, there is no anxieties, there's no fear, nothing's allowed at my birth space. So if you have any of those that actually happen, you need to go and deal with those, and then you can come back. If not, you're going to be politely asked to leave. And so that was my prerequisite, right? So Steph actually it's almost like she experienced transition with me, right? But it's funny because right before that transition, Mark looked at Steph and was like, I think things are ramping down. So why don't you go like maybe lay on the couch or do whatever, and then I'll come get you when I think things are ramping up again. Because I was silent. I had a silent labor and I had a silent delivery because I was just totally focusing on believing that I could do this, right? And just in my zone. I was in my world. And so Steph's like, nope, I'm good. Like, she was very well rested. She got like a full night's sleep that day. It was so funny. But then she left, and when she came back, I was experiencing the fetal ejection reflex. So no, it was actually before the fetal ejection reflex. So I experienced it the first time. And I think that's when she experienced some fear, and she came back, and I had my leg up, and I just felt down there, and it was just like open, and it was like, whoa. And so I pushed, and it was almost this animal instinct, because that's the fetal ejection reflex going down and telling my body it's time to push the baby out, right? And so I pushed, but then I was like, no, I need to go down one more time. And then I went down and I remained open. And then I cocked my leg up again. I had Reese in a lunge position. And then I just pushed, just did like a soft, like a soft grunt. And then boom, head was out. And I was like, head's out. And they're like, what? Like, Mark thought things were ramping down. It was so funny. And little did they know of all the things that I was experiencing inside, right? So, and then her head was out, and I just kind of waited for the next contraction, and then I pulled her out. I had caught her myself. So I pulled her out of the water. She had her umbilical cord wrapped around her neck. So I just unraveled it. She had an amniotic sac around her face. So I just pulled that off. I was the suction. So I put my mouth over her nose and her mouth, although I knew nothing was going to be in there anyway because of the amniotic sac. But I put my hand over her mouth and her nose, and I sucked it. And there was nothing really even there, but I just kind of did some sucks. She had her meconian poop pretty much right afterwards, so I knew that there was no meconian poop inside of me. I watched it come out of her. She started screaming, so the lungs were great, and she latched right away. So once I did some skin to skin, I nursed her like directly after that. She was a sucking machine. And then probably about I'd say 30 minutes after I gave birth, I got out of the pool, and then I just had like a sterilized tin underneath of me. So I just squatted over that. I didn't cut the cord right away. So I did very delayed cord clamping. So when the placenta fell out of me is actually when I cut the cord, because I knew that the nutrient rich blood that is so necessary from the placenta had transfused to Reese. When it was released, I knew that it was time, right? That I could cut it. So I cut it with some sterilized scissors, and I actually wanted to do a cord burning ceremony. But I tried burning the cord, and it's actually really hard to burn the cord. I almost wanted to just offer it up as incense and thanking God for the birth, but it's a really hard thing to burn. So we ended up just picking a position down a little bit more and using some sterile scissors to cut it. There was no blood that even came out of her umbilical cord, so there was no need to cord clamp because you have nothing to clamp it from, right? There's no blood. All the blood has passed through, and that's actually what you want. That's where your vitamins, your minerals, your nutrients, that's where the majority of their blood is actually coming from, is transfused from the placenta. And when you allow the placenta to come out on its own, there is no hemorrhaging that happens. So what I hear of a lot of times is placentas being pulled out, and then it's like, oh my gosh, she's hemorrhaging. It's like, well, no shit, Sherlock. You didn't allow the blood to transfuse from the placenta going to the baby, and then you ripped the placenta out before its job was done. So of course the mom is going to be hemorrhaging, absolutely. So I just fully believe ultimately with this whole thing that, and before I even go into that, I kept the placenta and actually buried it out in the yard under some Siberian irises. So her birth is a part of our home, and actually because the placenta is there. So it's super cool, right? It's super cool. I actually wanted to make some some capsules, but I realize it's a really delicate process. So and also I kept the placenta out a lot longer than it should have been. I didn't do all of my research on it because I just had so much else going on. But then I was like, you know what? I'll just bury it out in the front yard. And it's really cool knowing that it's there. So ultimately, I believe I have the power of belief in pregnancy and in birth is astronomical. The authority and the power that I took back with this process has been so redeeming for me. Being able to just go and lay in my own bed afterwards is nuts. Having like my child is not vaccinated. That is a touchy subject. However, I don't believe God made a mistake with the immune system. And I also don't believe that little tiny babies should be injected with things like hepatitis B and vitamin K. Like vitamin K will come from the placenta, the blood from the placenta. It has everything it needs. I just don't believe that God made a mistake with how the woman's body is made and with the process. I think there's a lot of extras that can do a lot more harm than it can do good. For me personally, that's what I believe. And I just believe that, with vaccinations, they are bypassing the body's natural ability to like sift through things and say, okay, this is good and we'll take it, and this is bad. The body doesn't have the ability to do that anymore because it bypasses the body's natural filtration system and it goes intramuscularly, therefore not giving the body a chance at all to say, okay, this is good, this is what I like, and this is what I don't like. So I have the most peaceful baby. Like, she slept through the night pretty much since day one. She's had no problems. She's healthier than a pig in poop. It's crazy. And I just believe that there is so much power that a woman can receive in actually taking autonomy and authority over her birth and only going externally when it's necessary, when you get this instinct of like something's off or something's not right. I believe that is what our healthcare system is for. It's not to be our gospel. And that's just what I truly believe. So, but again, I'm grateful for the medical system. My baby goes and sees a wonderful doctor. And I took her there just a couple days after I gave birth. And she's been following up and she's doing amazing. She is amazing. But yeah, that's basically my birth story, and why I just believe that free birth and a medically unassisted birth is something that any and every woman has the capacity to do. It's transformative, and the power and the autonomy that you can receive through it is it's beyond empowering. And also, I just fully believe that through labor and through delivery, we have the ability to join in Christ in his suffering. And if that is not worth anything, like, I don't know, like that, to me, that was the most powerful part, is when I just had all strings detached and I fully was pressing into him and leaning on him. And he was so with me through all of it. And it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And I just went to bed afterwards, and I greeted my parents when they came over just a few hours later. They're like, "Didn't you just give birth?" I'm like, "Yeah, I feel amazing. Like, I didn't tear, I didn't rip. It was just magic." And I just believe that we can have more stories like that rather than making any type of traumatic experience normalized, right? But not saying that medical assistance isn't necessary, because it absolutely is, and it can be life-saving at times. And I'm not saying that it's not necessary at all, but what I do think is that it's important to honor your beliefs and really feel empowered when you step away from whatever it looks like, whether it's free birth, whether it's leaving a job, or or like traveling or starting something new, or whatever that looks like, right? It's like, be empowered to know that through the power of belief, anything is possible. And yeah, I'm just really excited that I gave birth in this way. And actually, if I do this again, depending on the time of year, I actually want to take my blow up pool outside, and I want to give birth outside. with the birds and the bees and the trees, because I think that would just be like unbelievable. Super fun. So yeah, I'm hoping to post another video this week. Last week was actually just kind of crazy for me. I was home by myself the past week. My Marky baby was in Toronto, and it was the first time being home as a mama of two on my own. And I actually realized that I'm very anxiously attached. So I have to work through some anxious attachment. And it was so bizarre. Like my body actually went into like a sickness. Like I actually had like the diarrhea poops, and I wasn't able to hardly eat. I was like hardly sleeping. Like my body actually experienced him being gone. And I realized how much I missed him and all that stuff, which we honestly never even had the opportunity to miss one another before, which is really cool to experience. Because when you miss them, you realize how much you appreciate them. And so, yeah, that was really cool too. But yeah, I'm hoping to post another video this week. And I think I would kind of, not really sure what the topic is going to be yet, but I would kind of like to talk a little bit about, maybe some anxious attachment or dealing with what it looks like to miss someone, because that is something that I just experienced recently. So I'll just check in with my spirit and just see how that feels. But yeah, I'm actually planning on doing some interviews soon. So someone that I am planning on interviewing is Zach Bennett. He is a tattoo artist in the city, and I'm just so excited to sit with him, just hear a bit of his story and how he came to be a tattoo artist in the city. And yeah, I'm actually planning to interview my friend Josh McGrath as well. He is a brother from another mother. He is really, he's a really beautiful and just powerful person in terms of like he is so wild in his ways, but he is so he is so passionate and so loving, but he loves hard, he sabotages hard, and he recovers hard. Like homie. So yeah, but I'm going to be sitting down with him as well. And hopefully if I can get my boo thing on here, he's not really ready to be seen, he said, in this way, but he definitely is someone that I'm planning on sitting down with too, because I just love to talk about like our relationship and what we've navigated through this past year and what we're working on navigating through now. So with that being said, this is a wrap. I got to go get my girl, and we'll talk soon. Bye.